Hi, continuing on with coffee mug and coffee mug handle and looking at how to initially construct things and set things up so that you give yourself a good sporting chance to get things somewhat in perspective. Things going to the right vanishing point and looking symmetrical in their own orientation and whatnot. So what I've got here is a basic big cylindrical sort of coffee cup thing. I haven't worried about the inside rim, but this video is going to be mostly on learning and understanding how to begin placing the handles in the appropriate spot on any given coffee mug. The photo that we have been working from is something along the lines of this one over here. At least I'm pretty sure. Either way, this all is relatable depending on, handle can be sort of anywheres. So I'll be showing you how I go and set this up. So let's do that. First of all, let's draw some sort of no-nonsense cylinder. Can very much help to have that first center axis, but I'm just kind of sketching this out quickly. Top ellipse is going to be pretty squished, pretty flat. And for the bottom here, one thing I like to do, because I know that the tendency is to make it to an even skinnier, flatter ellipse than the top one, is I do like to sort of exaggerate when I create this bottom ellipse and kind of overdo it. And that way I can always come back in and flatten things out, but it's a good habit to get into. At least for me it is. So hopefully you see that this ellipse has an opening about that big at the bottom, which is quite a bit bigger. Probably exaggerating it too much, but like I said, better to over exaggerate a little bit and then scale it, tone it down, scale it back a little bit. So that's setting up the top and bottom ellipse. Make sure things are pretty straight on. I may go ahead and just kind of measure the side to the middle to make sure those are the same, and indeed it wasn't, so I'm gonna etch away at it a little bit, make sure I'm off to laying the foundation in an accurate sort of way. That is sort of needing to come up there. So I'm going to call that okay for now. I am going to think about, I know that I just kind of cranked out those ellipses, but it is good to remember that I do try to think about these all these different parts. Of the ellipse, and it can also help to think about what sort of rectangle that fits in. And if it seems like that diagonal is of this rectangle, I'm getting off topic, is working. Anyways, see, you can see other videos on ellipses and stuff like that. So when I think of attaching a handle to this cylinder, this mug, future mug drawing, I think of dropping down a plumb line from where it would attach, or just the line that it would be based off of. That's going to help me. I'm going to do one over here. I'm going to do one sort of closer to the center, just in case it was rotated around so that the handle was facing us. And I'm going to do the one in the back there as well, which is more, if this is the back of the mug. I'm sort of looking through now, but I can think of this line. That's still going to help me. And then when I think of attaching the handle, it attaches a little bit down from the actual top of the mug. Oftentimes, sometimes it attaches right at the flush with the top. But to help me, I'm going to sketch in another ellipse. Because everything that I draw, not everything, but everything that is following the curve of the ellipse, it will help to have that sketched in. So if this is the line, imaginary elliptical line, where the height, where the top of the handle would attach. Let me see, I'm going to knock this guy back a little bit. Let's knock several things back a little bit. Top of that ellipse is bugging me. Anyways, so if this is the top of the, represents where the top of the handle would attach, I also want to make one representing where the bottom might attach. And just in general, anytime you're learning about ellipses, just thinking of these imaginary, I'm sorry, about cylinders, thinking of these imaginary ellipses running all the way up and down whatever cylindrical item you may be drawing is a very helpful thing, especially like when you're doing a little side note. But if you're doing like a wine bottle and have a label or something attached, it's going to need to follow. I mean, you theoretically know that a label probably was printed out originally in rectangular form, but visually, because it's on a cylinder, you need to make sure it's following the rules of the cylindrical item. That's a side note. That's a little extra benefit from this video. So I'm imagining sort of this line around where the initial box, the box I'm going to imagine for this one handle is going to start. I will step back one real briefly, but for this ellipse, it can be helpful also to just to know that there's a straight line across the top that is splitting the ellipse in half, and that as long as the line is going through the center of here, that can be a helpful way of lining things up sort of on the ellipse, the top ellipse. So this will be the second handle I'm gonna think about. So I'm gonna create this rectangle, which is representing the face, or the part of the box that would be attaching to the mug. And to build out the box, this center line is really going to be helpful, because I'm going to kind of want to go parallel with that, with this line, to build this box. And then for this one, I'm going to do that. It's attaching right at this ellipse, but I'm sort of imagining that as just a straight line at that sort of an angle. So I'm going to keep building my box. Yes, there's a bunch of lines getting in the way here. Let's get rid of ones that I don't need. Let's see, down here at the bottom, still building out this box and thinking about, at this point, I'm not going to worry too much about the box edges converging too much. I just want to try to make sure they're parallel, at least parallel, and trying to make sure that they kind of seem like they visually are making sense. So back to sort of the idea of our boxes, and if this particular point is the closest to us in our anchor point, this is our up and down team captain. This is our away to the right captain, team captain, and this is away to the left, team captain. So I'm sketching in the ones that go with the up and down, that team, the up down team. Oops. And then away to the right team, and then away to the left. Trying to make sure that those are like I said, mostly parallel. And this is just sort of a helpful guide, so I'm trying to not get too perfect about involved perspective. But it is helpful to sort of be able to visualize that and feel that and think about how that relates in three-dimensional space. So then I would go about finishing the handle from that initial attached box. Let's do that. I'm going to do that here again at a place, if I attached it, that would be coming much more just sort of towards us, and boxes and things that are coming towards us can be confusing because they follow this idea called foreshortening. This box I'm setting up in a similar way. I'm making sure follows the perspective of this little center line that I sketched in. Imaginary center line. I think my pencil lead is pooping out. But if that is basic sketch for the box that would fit in, I'm going to straighten that guy up a little bit. Scooch him over. I'm going to flatten that one out a little bit. Get rid of some of that confusing stuff. So there's a box that I would use to start building out the handle for in this sort of method. The one in the photograph we've been going from is attached behind the cup, the mug part, the cup part. So I'm going to imagine a line from the center heading out to where that attaches. This is an imaginary line on the back side of it. If this is the top, right where it's attached